Hello everyone and welcome back to another card making video. Today I will be showing you how you can make this colorful summer card. I used the Stitch Dance from Lawn Fawn for the sky background, which is a little different, but I think it turned out super cool. If you're curious how I made this card, then keep watching because here we go. Spreek je Nederlands? Er is ondertiteling beschikbaar. First of all, I begin with coloring my images. I use my Copic markers for this and I place the cap with the color number on the left of my paper for you to see which color number I use. I used just a few Lawn Fawn stamp sets to set the scene for this card. The fox, towel, umbrella and coconut drink are from On the Beach. The little boat is from Smooth Sailing. You can find the large palm tree in Critters from the Past. The smaller palm tree and the crab are from Life is Good. For a full list of supplies I used, you can check out the blog post in the description. If you want to skip watching me color, you can skip to the time that pops up on the screen now. You can also find a clickable time link in the description. When I'm done coloring, I like to go over the inner lines with a black fine liner to bring back some details. This is totally optional, but for me it makes a difference. After I did the black lines, it's time to do the highlights with a white gel pen. With the largest die from the large stitched rectangle stackables, I cut 2 rectangles out of watercolor paper and 3 rectangles out of different shades of blue cardstock. I started the lightest colored cardstock. I used the second biggest die from the stitched ends in the middle of the paper. Now I layer my next colored rectangle right behind it. With one den size smaller, I also cut right in the middle. The first rectangle with the den cut out is just to act like a guide where to place the die. I repeat this step with the darkest colored cardstock and the smallest stitch den. Now I take one of the watercolor paper rectangles and the cloudy stencil from Lawn Fawn. I place it in the middle and layer the rectangle with the smallest den on top. I check if the stencil is in the middle of the den and adjust if necessary. With Distress Oxide Peacock Feathers I can now blend on a cloud. I blend it out really high, so I'm sure the whole top of the den has some color and it isn't white anymore. Now I'm going to lightly blend from the bottom to the cloud so it isn't white there anymore either. I layer the rectangle with the den again to check if I'm done. I blend it just a little extra till I'm happy with the result. I put the next layer on top and take the other watercolor paper rectangle. I align the bottom of the paper and overlap it a little, but I don't fully cover it. It's because I want a guide to see where I want one of the stitched simply wavy borders to cut. I add the waves and the last layer of colored cardstock to the stack and use the leftover watercolor paper rectangle in the same way as with the waves, but now for the beach part. I use one of the simply stitched hillside borders for that. I'm now going to ink blend both watercolor paper pieces, starting with the waves. I again use Distress Oxides for this, but this time I'm using Chipped Sapphire and Mermaid Lagoon. I use Chipped Sapphire at the bottom. You will only see a small piece of the ocean, so you don't have to blend all the way down. Then I add Mermaid Lagoon to the top. You will not actually see the gradient in the end, so you could also pick a colored cardstock or just one shade of Distress Oxide, but I wanted a somewhat darker version of Mermaid Lagoon, which I achieved doing it this way. For the sand I'm using Vintage Photo and Antique Linen. I add a bit of Vintage Photo at the bottom. I'm not blending it solid, it's just to make the beach a little darker at the bottom. So as you can see I'm blending over the brown with Antique Linen to let it blend into a darker colored beach. When I'm done, I add some ground espresso on my glass work surface, spray some water on it, and off screen I'm splattering the beach with a toothbrush. With the Scripty Sweet die, I cut 2 light green words and 1 grass green. I want to add some Distress Oxide Rustic Wildness to the bottom of that to add a little gradient to make it a little more special. Now I'm gluing the 2 light green words together. I glue the grass green sweet to this, but I put it a little off so it gets a little more interest. I cut a small strip of dark green cardstock. I brush it with baby powder to make it anti-static so I can heat emboss on it. I stamp on Heva and Summer with some space in between with clear embossing ink. I sprinkle on some white embossing powder. Now I preheat my heat gun for a minute, just pointing it in the air so it gets nice and hot already. I can now easily melt the embossing powder. I also heat the bag a little so I prevent warping it a bit. When it's done, I take a very slightly moist chamois to wipe off the excess baby powder. I cut the 2 parts into strips with the small scissors. Now for the assembling of the card. I layered everything together how it's going to be adhered down so I don't get confused. I moved down the beach a little so I can draw a pencil mark. Now I know how far I need to put glue. For the ocean I do the same, but on the back of the piece. I don't put any glue on the back of the beach because I want to be able to put stuff behind it, and in general it looks nicer when you just let it be. Now you see me put glue on the whole ocean piece because it's harder to see where you want to put glue and where not. So what I do is just wipe off the excess once it's adhered on the other piece. Now the next layer can just be glued on, so I'm skipping that in the video. The last piece is the cloudy background. Just add glue to the back of all the layers adhered together and glue it on the background. With the use of my ATG gun, I can now adhere everything to the craft paper card base I already prepared. Now it's time to assemble the scene. First I put the boat behind the ocean and I put the umbrella in place. Now I adhere the fox to the towel and put him in place. I can now check if I need to adjust anything for the scripty suite to fit in place. To be sure everything is right, I also add the other sentiment pieces. The S fits perfectly in the curve of the fox. I adhere it to the towel. I can now adhere the suite and the fox to the card. I only put some glue on the bottom part of the towel, so it's only adhered to the beach. I can also glue down the other two sentiment pieces now, before I continue building my scene. I'm first placing the palm trees on the other side. I also place the adorable crab and the coconut drink. Now I glue down the coconut first, because that's in the right place and the fox is already adhered down. Next I adjust the umbrella a little and put a little glue behind it to adhere it also. I do the same for the palm trees. I position the boat in the right spot and put some glue behind the flag to adhere it down. I glue the crab in position. And with that, my card is finished. The sky on this card might be a little different, but I'm happy how it turned out. It's a lot of layering, so the card gets a bit heavy, but it looks amazing, so it could always be a card you give to someone in person rather than send it by mail. I think I'm going to make skies like this more often because it's super fun. I hope I inspired you with my video and that you feel inspired to get crafty as well. If so, please consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel and ringing the bell to receive a notification when a new video is up. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye!